Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm putting on new catalytic converters today on my 2003 Honda. So a little bit of background, if you've seen my other videos on this car, 2003 Honda Accord, it's my high mileage car. Currently has 124,000 on it, or just a few miles shy, 824 as of right now. So a little bit of background on these catalytic converters. My OEM cats lasted till about 500,000 miles, and I got the dreaded P0420 code, and then on the V6 you can also get the P0430 code, which is cat low efficiency on bank 1 and 2. So got those, put in new O2 sensors before and nothing worked, so went ahead and replaced the catalytic converters the first time, like I said, around 500,000 miles. That was with this set. These are Dorman cats. So the new cats and the new downstream O2 sensors kept the check engine light off for a while, but I've been driving with the check engine light illuminated for quite a while now, so I'm finally getting around to fixing it. Alright, so the Dorman cats are not OEM, but this time I went with Walker. Walker's the OEM supplier, and I should have done that the first time. That was my mistake. But anyhow, here are the part numbers for my car, 16450, 16451 for the two cats. And then there's the new downstream O2 sensors, NTK. Let me see the part number for that. The only other thing needed are the flange gaskets, and each flange gasket for each converter, they're the same, so I got two of each. There's one for the inlet and one for the outlet, so I'll show you what that looks like. The V6s on these cars a little bit different than most designs. You don't have like a standard header or like a multi-dump manifold, so it all is internal here and comes out one inlet for the catalytic converter. So there's a gasket for that, and then we'll get down here. There you see the silver ring gasket for the downstream part of the cat. So like I said, both those are the same. As far as the cats on this car, you have one here in the front, and then on the back side of the engine compartment, they consider that one the center, and then there's also one underneath the car, so that's front, center, and rear. So I'm replacing the front and center ones today. Okay, so I'll kind of walk you through steps I took to get to this point. I didn't just go straight to replacing the catalytic converters. So first thing I did was got on YouTube trying to look for fixes for the P0420 code, and there was a video by MIT engineer who had bought some resistors and capacitors and wired them in, and that was able to mimic the signal of what the downstream O2 sensor would have done, and fooled the computer and turned the check engine light off for him. So it worked for him. I tried that, didn't work. So as a result of that, I had to buy new downstream O2 sensors because I cut the other ones to wire in the resistors and capacitors, and like I said, that didn't work. Okay, so then put in another set of downstream O2 sensors and still had the light on, so I went and got what's called Cataclean. You can get it from any parts store. Just pour it in your gas tank, run it through there. And any of the stuff I describe, any of these steps may work for you, but none of them worked for me. Ultimately ended up in having to do the new cats here. So the Cataclean, put that in and ran that. Check engine light was off for maybe 150 miles, and then it came back on, same codes and everything, so that didn't work. Okay, so next thing I did was have these little anti-foulers. You may have seen people use these for like spark plugs for like an old engine stuff. So have these anti-foulers that you screw in here. Like you can see the one still right here. So you can screw the O2 sensor into that, and then the anti-fouler screwed into the downstream part of the cat. So that was the thought was that that would keep the O2 sensor out of the direct airflow through the cat, and that may fix it. So installed that, that didn't work. So I pulled the O2 sensor back out, and I thought, okay, well, let me just plug the bottom of this with some foil or something. That way there's no, supposedly dirty air that can get there, and maybe that'll fix it. Well, that caused a different code. So all these different things I did ended up not eliminating the problem and just creating other codes with either a slow response code or a O2 sensor high voltage or low voltage code, things like that. Okay, so for me, the anti-fouler didn't work. Also, putting in the, or covering the hole there didn't work either. So I was having, all kinds of issues here. So then, and I didn't even think this would work, but I had nothing to lose at this point. Guy at the parts store said, well, just take the downstream O2 sensor, unscrew it, and just let it hang. And like I said, I didn't think that even sounded correct, but took it out, and the car didn't like that either. Once again, you get a code for the voltage being incorrect at the O2 sensor. Okay, so, exhausted some options there. So then we went the electronic route and got these stupid little things. Okay, these are supposed to be O2 sensor simulators. Okay, it's these little, little contraptions here, as you can see. They have 4 wires there, one for power, one for ground, and then you have these output wires here that you wire into your downstream O2 sensors. It's supposed to mimic the proper signal and then send that to the computer of the car, and then that's supposed to work. Well, these are from a company called Magnum Tuning, and I had a horrible experience with them. Troubleshooting back and forth, emailing back and forth. They're not accepting calls now because of COVID, so I couldn't actually talk to anyone, but was emailing back and forth with a guy and, doing everything he said, testing, giving him data and stuff like that. And it was just a really bad experience. He was basically blaming the car, like anything about the car, that it wasn't these particular, contraptions here. Well, so what I should have done in the beginning is I should have just hooked this up to power and ground and then checked the output of this, because it's supposed to mimic up to 0.95 volts and then drop back down. Well, one of these physically, and there's a little screw right there, that little white looking screw where you can adjust the voltage. So they're supposed to be set from the factory and everything. Well, they weren't set properly. Neither one of them were set properly. And then one of these doesn't even adjust up to 0.95 volts. So wrote back to the guy, showed him pictures of it only going up to like 0.75 or 0.72, whatever it was. And as these emails went on, the guy was just increasingly condescending and rude to me about it. And so I was getting kind of fed up with it. So finally, after spending hours and hours of emails and troubleshooting and whatnot and stuff, I said, just give me my money back. Well, they refused to do that. So Magnum Tuning, I would stay far, far away from them. These little things are not cheap either. They were $85 a piece. So I got $170 sitting there, and they're worthless, won't work. And I've filed a dispute with the credit card. I'm hoping I'll be able to get the money back like that because they're refusing the refund. Yes, the company did offer to send out other units, but from the very first email, it was, it's not our stuff, we quality check everything, we've never had a warranty return ever because our stuff's perfect and always works. Well, I've got 2 sensors here, neither one was set properly, and one of them won't even set properly. So I find that hard to believe that they've sold, thousands of units over several years and have never had a warranty return. So anyhow, stay far away from Magnum Tuning, my opinion. Okay, so now we're at the point where we're putting the Walker cats on. So I've got those new downstream sensors, got the new cats here. The front here is a piece of cake. You take off the AC cooling fan on this side. It's just a couple screws up here, and there's like one down below, and then a bolt for the overflow tank for the coolant there, and that's it. And it gives you plenty of access here. You've got 4 bolts up here, and then on the downstream side, you got 3 bolts on the cats there. So, and then just unplug the 2 sensors. So the front one's a piece of cake. The center one, you can imagine with all that there, there's not much space, so it's a little bit more painful. And so then the only other thing I want to mention right now is I've got a Haynes manual, and in the manual it talks about having to drop the intermediate shaft for the CV axles in order to make this work. Well, there's a shield here that goes around the intermediate shaft. I was able to unbolt that, and then that gave me plenty of room to slide the center cat right out. So that made it pretty easy, relatively speaking. Okay, so getting ready to install these, you know, new sensors, new OEM cats. Now, if the engine was really in bad shape, then I'd probably have oil-soaked cats, and I just wanted to show you this. This is the downstream side of one of the cats. Here's downstream side of one of the other ones. So keep in mind, this car has over 800,000 miles on it, so if it was oil-soaked, then you know, I'd have other issues to deal with. But the cats themselves look pretty good, so pretty confident that the problem is just going to be the fact that I used Dorman cats instead of Walker the first time. The Walkers are supposed to have some sort of other coating in there that's advertised to keep the check engine light off. So I'm going to put those in, and then I will follow up after I've driven the car a pretty significant distance just to verify they work, and I'll let you all know about that. All right, we'll see you soon. Hey everybody, I'm back with a follow-up video now for the catalytic converter install on my 2003 Honda Accord. So there you can see the front one. You can just barely get a glimpse of the downstream sensor there. So install the front and the center on the back side of the engine there. So installation went all right. Front's a piece of cake, back's got some space issues to deal with, but it still worked out okay. All right, I wanted to drive it a little bit before I came back and did the follow-up video. So when I installed it, had 823.8 on the car. Let's see, there we go. 827.1 right now. So a little over 3,000 miles of driving on it. And hold start. Got a rattling heat shield. Okay, but no check engine light. So everything stayed out since I installed it. Everything was good. Like I said in the prior video, any of those things that I tried may work for you. It's just that none of them happened to work for me. I ultimately ended up having to replace the catalytic converters. So the Dorman cats that I had in there, the check engine light stayed off for a while and it came back on. So I'm hopeful about the Walker because the Walker is the OEM supplier, and they also advertise that they have a coating on there that's designed to keep the check engine light off. So I think this one should work out better. Of course, long term, time will tell. But maybe when you check back in, as you see the mileage videos for the car as mileage increases, you know, we can talk about it later. So, all right, well, have a great night. Thanks for watching.